What's going on, vloggers, bloggers, and everyday toilet brewers? Is it toilet brewers or everyday home brewers? Whatever. We're finally doing it. We're doing a beer. But we're going to be doing something really simple because I haven't done all grain yet. We're going to be doing a beer kit. And the type of beer that we're going to be doing is a Northern English brown ale. So I've already ordered my brew kit, beer kit. Beer kits are actually really cheap. It depends on where you go. I went to a place called Right Brew that's up in Wisconsin. I actually ordered it from them. It was like $30 and maybe 10 bucks for the shipping. I can't really remember. So altogether, it's super cheap, but it's a big 5-gallon batch, and it's gonna be really, really cool because beer is so easy to make, and I know a lot of people get intimidated with all the different things and stuff like that. But we're gonna go through a couple of those things. And starting off with equipment, what you're gonna need, sanitizers, wort chillers, and all that other stuff. So bear with me. I'm gonna stand up. Hopefully you can be able to hear me. I know my voice is already kind of deep, and I don't have a microphone other than the one that I use to voice over stuff. And I think I want to wear this throughout the whole entire thing. Sticking on my neck like this. It'd be like this. Then you'd be able to hear me better because of the mic's right here. But then it would just look fucking weird, But either way, we're gonna go over some equipment. So starting off, what usually comes in your home brewing or your beer kit, your easier beer kit is usually stuff like specialty grains and DME, which is a dried malt extract. Sometimes you get DLM, which is LME, which is a liquid malt extract. But the one that I've got has got the dried malt extract, so I'll show you what all came in it. So here are my specialty grains. Right here, it's a big old bag. It's like a 10-pound bag. Like I said, we're going to be doing a 5-pound batch, so it actually came with instructions, and we'll go through this later. But yeah, let's see here. So the entirety of the kit right now has got 1 pound of special malt, which is in here. They actually kind of mixed it all together. So 5 pounds of victory malt, 5 pounds of caramel malt, and then 1 pound of special malt extract. That would be this. See, this is a golden DME. Got 5 pounds of that. And then golden light DME as well too. And then here's another one of golden light DME, dried malt extract, like I was saying. It also came, which most beer kits come with, is one of these sock guys where you can this is the tied off side. You can put the grains in here and steep them that way. But what I have a brew in the bag, and I'll get that here in a minute. And I'll show you when we do the other equipment. It also came with Fugel hops. Got 2 packages of that. And you'll be adding that in at the boil. And we'll go through that as well too. And it also came with SO4, which is our yeast. I've brewed beer before, but I've only used USO5. This is SO4. This is a standard dry ale yeast, so it's something like USO4 and stuff like that. So, but that's all the stuff that's in the grain, in the kit, and it's going to be really easy, like I was saying. So, let's get to the other parts. So I shut my kitchen lights off because it was literally just blinding, but I've got some other lights going on, so hopefully you'll be able to see this. If anything, we're just going to go through a couple equipment stuff you're going to need when you're doing your beer. You absolutely need some of this stuff. Some you don't, some you do. But one of the biggest basic things is, which I totally forgot is over here, is sanitizer. I have StarScan, and what I do is that I put it in a big spray bottle, so if I need to sanitize anything on the go, boom. You know what I mean? And you're going to want to sanitize everything. You get any kind of nasty buggies in there, you're going to brew vinegar. Well, you could. It really just depends. So, a couple of the other things I've got here. I've got a paddle, and that's for when we're going to be stirring in our grains. And then I've got a brush for cleaning out carboys. That's our brush for cleaning our carboys. And here we actually have a big 5-gallon glass carboy. Some of this stuff might look a little dirty because I haven't washed everything. And that's another thing I need to talk about is, like sanitizing everything, you're going to want to wash the holy shit out of everything. I mean, like, get the water hot, as hot as you can stand. Get some good Dawn soap, antibacterial, and get it all washed up. Hold on. So, you're also going to need these as well, too. This is a hydrometer. It's for testing the alcohol by volume and getting your original gravity. This is a graduated cylinder. These are all pretty cheap things when it comes down to it. I know I've talked about this in my previous episodes, but you're still going to need this stuff. All right. This is my brew in the bag. So instead of using that big sock thing, like I said, we're going to be using a brew in the bag. And then here's this big guy over here. It's connected with a lot of stuff. There's still some like old water coming out of it. Come on. There we go. This is a wort chiller. And this will actually like chill down our beer to get it to yeast pitching temperature, because like I said, it's a beer, so we're gonna bring it up to a boil, and it's gonna be an hour-long boil. So that is basically a connector that goes to my sink. I actually had to go to the hell did I go? I went to Lowe's, and I actually brought the connector to my sink and this tube with me to the thing, and the guy actually helped me get like a connector that went to a connector that went to another connector that went to the hose. So yeah, I mean, if you want to go over there and fiddle for hours and everything like that, I actually got this off of one of my buddies in the brewing club. Shout out to Larry. Oh man, I should have been wearing my brewing t-shirt. I got a t-shirt that says like Buzz Brewing. Either way, one last thing. Is you're gonna need something to bring it up to a boil. Now this is the T500, the Grain Father T500. This is what I use to make, my moonshine or vodka or brandy or anything like that. And this usually actually has like a column that goes on here that I distill stuff with. And if you go back and look at the moonshine video, you'll see me using this as well too. But the cool thing is that this doubles as a boiler. So if I want to, and I got a chair right here, I can just set this down and then put my brew in the bag in here. And then when I'm like, mixing my grains, I can, so you don't have to use something like this. Now I've got another pot in the other room, and it's a big 3-gallon pot. And I also got like one of those, like stovetop things. So you can just do it on the counter, but you'll have to do double batches if you do something like that. So last but not least is also a thermometer. And this is just regular kitchen probe thermometer that is heat resistant. Well, you can shove this thing into an oven and bake it at 400 and it won't melt this wire because it's made out of metal and stuff like that. And the last thing is a brew towel, but it's over there. And you know how I am about brew towels. You're going to need that because, it's a messy thing, and brewing beer is almost like an all-day thing. You're going to have to get it up to a boil. You're going to have to clean everything. You're going to have to clean it afterwards. Yeah, pretty crazy. But like I said, we'll go step by step and teach you how to do everything. Oh, one of the last things I forgot is a racking cane. I know mine's pretty dirty. It's got some junk on it. And I think I might have a split in the hose right here, which if anything, I can just cut that off and bring it back up here. It's still a pretty long hose when it comes down to it. Yeah, it needs some love. Don't worry. We'll clean it. So the last part of this video is what I wanted to explain was, what goes on when you're actually doing the brew and everything like that. Like say in the next video, I'm going to be showing you and everything like that. But there's a couple of terms and things that you kind of need to know about brewing beer before you kind of get started and everything like that. There's a bunch of tutorials on YouTube. That's how I learned. I kind of been self-taught till I found my brewing club and just started hanging out with them. And all those guys mostly do is beer and wine. There's another guy who does mead, and I've done a mead before, and we'll get into those videos eventually. But one of the first things you need to do is take your big boiler and fill that up all the way to 5 gallons and flick it on. Well, mine at least is just a one flip system, and mine immediately goes to 220 degrees. But what we want to start off with is strike water. Now, your strike water is what you get what your temperature up to before you start steeping your grains. And then after that, that's your mash water. So, because once you submerge all those grains, the temperature is obviously going to go down. So my mash temp for this kit is 155 degrees. That's why I've got a thermometer. And so I'm probably going to bring that up to 160. And then what I do is that I usually put a lid over my T500, and then I wrap that shit in a towel, and I flick off the switch, just turn it off, and and I go from there basically. So, but in this whole entire thing is that we're doing a 20-minute steep at 155, and that is the 1 pound of the extra special malts, the victory malts, and then the 5 pound of the corn malts, all that stuff. And then after that, once it does its steep at 155, we'll pull out the brew bag, give it a good squeeze, get all that shit, that extra juice. I know there's a huge rumor about don't squeeze it, you're going to release tannins into it. No, you're going to want to squeeze that bag, get everything that you can out, because that's all flavor. That's all fermentable deliciousness. Well, maybe not fermentable, but still, that's where all the flavor comes from the beer. And especially with the brown ale, there's like caramel malts and victory malts, chocolate malts, and all kinds of cool malts in there. Like I said, specialty grains, because the easy shit. When you want to get into full grain brewing, you're gonna have to pick up your own 2-row and grind that shit up yourself and everything like that. And right now, I don't have money or time for any of that shit because I work full time. So after all that is said and done, you're gonna want to flick it back on, and you're gonna bring that thing all the way up to a boil, and then it starts everything else. So in our recipe kit, we're going to bring it up to a 60-minute boil. And what I do is once it gets up to a boil, I get my thermometer in there, make sure it's all up to temperature, and then I start a clock because it's going to be a 60-minute boil. So you add in your 5 pounds of your gold DME. So that was the back of the stuff that I showed you from right over here. And then after that, you're going to add in your hops, 1 hop addition. So 1 packet, rip it open, toss it in there. That's also a 60-minute boil. So when you get to about the 50 mark, you're going to be adding your secondary hop addition, and that's going to be in there for 10 minutes to the boil. So then after you've reached your 60-minute mark, you're going to shut everything down, and you're going to try to cool this thing down as much as you possibly can, because this is a critical moment with all the heat and liquid and sugar in there and everything like that. You get something nasty in there, you're screwed, because you come home and it's been in there fermenting, and then all of a sudden you got this huge mold cap. You can't use any of that shit. You're literally just gonna dump it down the drain, and that was a waste of $40 fucking, you know what I mean? So that sucks. But that's why we have the wort chiller. And the good thing that you want to do is actually, once the boils, you're about 5 minutes out from the boil, you can actually put your wort chiller in there to give it a good sanitizer. You can spray it down with the Starzan if you want to. I know sometimes Starzan, it being kind of like a high acid, it can kind of, goo up, or not really goo up, but put a tarnish on the copper, but it doesn't really matter. And we already know about copper being a great transistor. Oh my God, we did this last time for like heat and stuff like that. So put your wort chiller in, flick on the cold water. You can move it up and down if you want to. Some people just leave it there, put your thermometer back in. And since we're using the SO4 yeast, it has a ferment temperature of 68 to 64 degrees Fahrenheit. So we do not want to pitch our yeast until it gets down to that temperature. But even once we get it down to that temperature, we're going to take our racking cane, move it over to our glass carboy, then that's when we pitch our yeast. And I'm using a dry yeast, and you don't have to rehydrate it if you don't want to. And you don't have to use a stir plate, even though I actually do have one of those now. But all you can do is just dump the yeast straight in, put your airlock on there, and then there you go. Let it sit and ferment. And then we'll get into the bottle conditioning and all that other stuff in the next video. Well, actually, probably the third video. I know this is going on pretty long, but I just wanted to go through and explain everything that's going to happen. I'm going to be doing the beer today. I'm going to be recording the entire process. I'll probably have a voiceover, so like the video will be muted and me voicing over it to explain everything. And I'm not going to record everything because, like I said, it's literally going to be an hour. Actually, altogether, your total brewing time should be, let's see here, an hour and 30 minutes. And then that's just getting everything done, and then cooling it down takes like 30 minutes too. So like I was saying, when it's a brew day, it's like an all day thing. So either way, thanks for coming with me on the journey. And like I said, we'll go through the bottling process, the carbonating process, because we're going to be doing what's called bottle conditioning. And I've got a capper in the other room, and I'm going to get carbonation. They're not carbonation tablets, but what they are, they're like little droplets of sugar. Because what we'll do is that once the yeast has gone down and we got to a certain gravity level, we're just going to literally take it from the glass carboy and put it straight into the bottle with these little cubes of sugar, these little droplets, and then we're going to cap them, and the yeast is going to eat that sugar and literally just carbonate it for us. There will be a tiny little bit of yeast cake at the bottom, but that's kind of what happened when it comes to home brewing and you don't have a caking system. That's another thing on my list, is to get a caking system, but yeah, we'll see how that all goes.